What's going on? I saw the weirdest debate over the weekend with Sneako and Moist Critical, also known as Charlie. Now, they're both massive streamers and YouTubers, and they decided to have a debate about age of consent for some reason. Now, I don't know why you'd want to debate about this. It just seems like a weird topic. Maybe it's because of like the Dr. Disrespect and Chris Tyson stuff going on recently. But I mean, apart from internet views, I just don't see what's in it for either of them. Now, full disclosure, I don't watch Sneako. I never have. I don't really know much about the guy. I do watch Charlie from time to time. He covers trending topics and internet stuff, and he's usually got a pretty middle-of-the-road take, but he's reliable and he's funny. So what I'm getting at is I don't hate either of these guys, but this debate was just retarded. On one hand, you've got Sneako arguing that the age of consent should be maturity, whatever that means, and you've got Charlie arguing that the age of consent should be whatever the law says, which I'm more inclined to agree with, unless we're talking about Brazil or some weird Middle Eastern country. But then he goes on to say that teenagers, like 14, 15-year-olds, should be able to go and get full sex change surgery. Like lop it off, tuck it in, whatever they do. And it's just crazy. This was a cringe debate, and it was painful to watch. So here's the juicy bits, let's go.
Adulthood is not something that you can set in stone because it's different for the entire world. Like, I moved out when I was 14. A lot of people don't move out until they're 25. I went through puberty when I was 17. A lot of people went through puberty when they were 13, 14, 15. It changes for everybody. So for you to say that this is the set in stone age and say you're a pedophile if it's under 18, and then if you're over 18, you're fine, well, then that's a weird line that doesn't make sense. So you're going to say this person is a terrible person if they're 17 years old, 364 days, and right after that, they're good to go.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how it works, Sneako. Whatever the age of consent may be where you live, that's the hard stop. That's the line. Now, there's Romeo and Juliet laws and things like that where there's exceptions, if they're within X amount of years from each other. But the line has to be drawn somewhere, and that line is black and white. It's broadly based on the morality of society, and it's written into law. Now, in societies like Afghanistan, Yemen, and Iran, there is no age of consent as long as it's within marriage. And the legal marriageable age is anywhere from not applicable in Yemen to 13 in Iran and 16 or younger with parental consent in Afghanistan. That's pretty fucked. I've no idea what these countries base their morality on. But if I were to choose between living in a Western society like Australia, the UK, the US, or Afghanistan, Yemen, or Iran, I'd choose the Western countries, obviously. We seem to have gotten a few things right.
Let's define these terms before we even get into this conversation. What is a child?
I would use the age of consent. Under 18 would be a kid in my eyes.
So a 17-year-old who's 364 days, that's a kid?
Yep, I'm gonna use very hard set terms. If it is under 18, even if it's 17, 364, that's still a kid.
That's a kid. Okay,
I think it's important to have these hard lines in the sand where it doesn't have this kind of wiggle room.
Okay, why does that define kid?
See, I think Charlie's giving up a bit of ground here, kind of. It doesn't matter how kid is defined. Age of consent laws exist. Society has agreed it's a bad thing to break them, illegal even. It's like, imagine if someone doesn't have the mental capacity to consent, and you say, well, how exactly are you defining retard? It doesn't matter how you define retard. They might not be retarded. It might be something else. And no, I'm not calling kids retarded, although they are kind of retarded.
The definition of an adult is 18 years old.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fine establishment right there. Anything under 18 would classify as a kid. I think that's important.
Okay, but you're getting that from what? From personal experience, from the government, from the law? Because that's legally in America, that's when you become an adult, correct?
Yeah, legally.
So you're following the government's definition of an adult.
Yeah, but the government represents society. Government is ever changing and is made up of members of society. So the rules that government put into place kind of reflect the values of society. Now, I'm not saying government doesn't put shitty rules into place, rules that society kicks back on, but I think in this case it's been long established and it's kind of appropriate in the West anyway.
200 years ago in the 1800s in America, the age of marriage...
Yeah, we can't live like that. We're so much more advanced than that. Why would we play by those rules? Because at that point, are you going to start arguing that we should be able to start wedding 12-year-olds? Like, is 12 too young?
That's not the point. I'm saying, you're saying that the U.S. defined adult as 18. Well, I'm saying 200 years ago, the age of marriage in America was 10, and the UK was 7.
Well, yeah, that's fucked. Like, what's your point? 200 years ago, they were using children in coal mines and shit.
I don't think you're coming at this from a place of you wanting to fuck a 15-year-old, are you? Like, to go back to that question, is 12 too young? Do you think 12 is too young?
I think 12 is too young for me, yes.
Well, for you, do you think 12 is too young in general? I feel like that should be an easy answer.
12 is too young in general, correct? Because,
Okay.
yes.
And I don't
But
think you're
I want
coming
to
at this from that
define,
angle.
but what you're saying, your definition of adult is not even the actual definition. Do you know what the definition of child is? Like anybody watching this can Google it. You can Google it too. The definition of child is somebody who has not reached puberty yet. That's the definition.
Okay, what exactly do you want us to do with that? Child, teenager, young adult, whatever you want to call them. They're out of bounds if they're under the age of consent. Now, I'm glad, obviously, that he said 12 is too young, but it's what he says next that's kind of questionable.
You keep thinking that I'm saying this because I want the age to be lowered. That's not what I'm talking about at all.
That's what it comes across as, though. When you
maybe
say
maybe
that
with
if
the
you
internet
are-
brain because people in the West, they want to have sex all the time and they have a different sort of mindset, right? Here in the Middle East, I'm in the Middle East right now. They want to get married and then have sex.
Yeah, but they can marry them when they're fucking 13. See this tug of war he's kind of doing? No, I don't want to lower the age of consent. You should only have sex after you get married. By the way, you can marry a 13-year-old. And Charlie's just not keeping up with it. And then he fucking says this.
Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay, so as long as
Your
everyone...
parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
Charlie, you're playing a dangerous game here, mate. As long as they consent and the parents consent, it's okay. I mean, how many other things could you apply that to? Alcohol, drugs, sex, for fuck's sake? But it doesn't end with hormone therapy, because of course it doesn't.
Okay, if I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful, she's 21 years old, her family wants to do it, my family wants to do it, you're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting, I'm ready to go, I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a pedophile. But if then, the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe
okay.
everyone has I believe everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
Okay,
100%.
but so everyone has the right to do with their body, but not when it comes to a sacred marriage where they have kids, where they add to society.
That's no longer just you.
That is
you are
your
literally
body.
Bringing someone in.
Okay, you're still bringing in the doctor to use the scissors to snip off your penis.
He's not there for the rest of your life. He's not constantly there at your fucking house monitoring you.
You don't need to be there. You're not glued to your wife. You're not there like Siamese twins.
Oh my God, Charlie. This is Megan Fox with her 3 transgender children. Now, she's a Hollywood type. She lives in Hollywood, around Hollywood people, Hollywood doctors. And keeping in mind that transgender people are a tiny, tiny % of the population, do you think it would be okay for her to take her 3 sons to a Hollywood doctor and have their penises removed? Do you seriously think that? I mean, she'd be consenting, the kids would be consenting. I'm sure they'd find some weird, fucked up Hollywood doctor that'd do it. Are you okay with this? Seriously? You see what I mean? This debate was just fucking retarded. It did absolutely nothing to improve either of their standing, in my eyes, so I thought I better comment on it. By the way, have you noticed how many pre-2000 songs are about fucking kids? That's what we've been watching in the background this whole time. I mean, if they had Discord servers back then, you'd never hear the end of it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta. Bye-bye.
Recession, session.